What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack Anderson. I am flanked by JP Pusilowski.
What's up, guys? Fire Nico Harrison.
Okay, thank you, JP. And then on my left, we have cameraman aficionado, Sanders Oakley. How's it going, Sanders?
Great. I realized that now I have a monitor that I'm watching baseball on, and so I raised my chair a little bit so I could be seen above all my things.
Sounds good. Yeah, he's really not locked into the podcast, guys. He's watching his Padres play.
Yeah, Padre versus Tigers. So this is a big brother rivalry right here between me and my younger brother.
Not gonna lie, I almost sold and hit the wrong intro music, and even though this is like episode 16, but I did not.
Yeah, you literally last episode you go, wait, which button is it? And that has been your job every episode.
The problem is they're like both in the top corners.
True.
So I just go to
True.
reach, and there's a split second of hesitation. I got nervous. I clutched up because that's what I do. And let me just go ahead and lay out what we're looking for this episode. It's a shorter episode. We got a very, we think we can yap a lot.
We said that
so
last time we went hour 55.
I truly believe this is going to be a shorter episode, mainly because we have a back half. It's a backloaded week for us content-wise with the draft on Thursday. We'll have a lot of TikToks and short-form content coming out, as well as our normal podcast coming out Thursday morning, and then a live stream Thursday night of the draft, which should be a ton of fun.
I can't wait.
Sanders 100% will be here the whole time. We have logistics to be worked out about Emerald basketball. It is likely JP will be here the whole time now as well.
Mm-hmm.
I am to be determined. We will see. I will definitely be here for my Commanders pick at 29 because that's what I care the most about.
You say that, but if our game starts at 8, you're counting it starting at 8. It might not start till 8:30, 8:40.
It'll work itself out.
The Commanders pick. We're pick
We'll phone-
20,
we'll
we're
phone
pick
you in.
29.
We'll phone
So
you in.
yeah, I should at least be done with the game. Maybe I'll be on the walkover, and yeah, y'all can phone me in, I guess. But yeah, stay tuned for all the stuff in the back half of the week. But for this episode, we have our normal MSU sports recap. We have our NBA recap. We want to just kind of give reactions and overreactions to the first game of every series of the NBA playoffs in the first round. We have a fan question to answer.
True. Yes.
Prospective fan, maybe. We don't know if he's a fan yet. I hope so.
It would appear he is a fan in the last 15 minutes.
That is
Yeah.
true. He's
Heavy.
We appreciate the support from this prospective fan or confirmed fan now. And then we have a question to ask JP to end off the show.
Can't wait.
He has no idea what it is. We're hyping it up a lot more than what it is.
Yeah,
but
that makes it. It's just a sports question. It makes it sound like a.
no, this is a life question, JP.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
Okay, I'm ready.
You're going to have to sit with it for a couple of minutes. I do want to say, because it was Easter and we had school off, we are recording Monday, and it's going to come out Tuesday morning.
I
So
did not even think about
It's
that.
a day later. So just it really shouldn't throw much off,
The
to be
draft
honest.
is in like 3 days.
But yeah, the
guys.
draft is really close. It's just kind of a condensed week. JP literally just got back in the
It's going
start.
to be great, man. I cannot wait.
I am nowhere near ready.
I got you.
I have done 8 of the 32 team profiles, 15 of the 40
Yeah,
video.
I'll be there for all of them.
Yeah.
All right.
You just
Alright.
got to be here and talk, dude, and give good insight, which I know you can because you have put a lot of work into it.
You're
Correct.
a host.
Correct.
Yeah.
Remember, you
Correct.
do not have to be the guy that
No. We good.
Yeah,
throws out 1,000 takes.
No, I'm throwing out. I'm just gonna start making takes
I
up.
I
on the
told
fly.
Sanders if
I've
I'm
already
not,
got a good one cooking up. Can I go ahead and give my favorite take so far?
give it. Sure.
Abdul Carter is going to be better than Micah Parsons.
Okay.
I thought of that, and now I've seen other people saying it as well. So
He's a giant, though.
it validates me a little bit. Makes me feel
That
better.
does, yeah, that's worrisome. I told Sanders before he got here, JP, that I'm a little worried
You
if
mean
I
like
come
Lawrence Taylor,
in
one
here-
of the greatest of all time?
if I come in here after like 2 hours of the draft, y'all might have like killed each other.
Yeah, it's either gonna be.
I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah,
I'm going
it's
to
not out of the
rage
question.
bait at JP to the point where he just loses it, or he's gonna call me a fake Mississippi State fan. I'm just
The-
gonna rage quit.
And
flip
I'm
out.
not sitting between y'all till you
Correct.
provide a buffer. So it could get scary hours.
The 9th pick decides the entire.
We may need betting odds on what happens while I'm gone.
I'm down.
We'll cook some stuff up. Anyway, JP, you want to get us rolling with the MSU sports recap
Yeah, absolutely.
in a bad week?
Unfortunately, men's tennis lost in the SEC semifinals. So they'll get to play in the NCAA tournament, I assume.
Yes, they
considering
will
how good
play.
they are.
They will.
We'll
likely
host a regional, right? Yeah.
Likely, we're hoping for regional.
But yeah, they ended up losing in the semifinals of the SEC tournament. The Dogs in softball went 0-3 at Oklahoma. They were in the 2 games Saturday and Sunday. I apologize, but 2 games were played on Sunday. But they were in both of those games, 5-6 and 6-9.
Yep.
Had a lead in both of those games as well. Just couldn't get it done in Norman.
Yeah.
Tough losses to the Sooners, but I mean, you play on the road against one of the greatest programs in softball history, and you compete. I think that says a little bit about the complexion of this team. They didn't really fall down and collapse.
Yeah,
so
I
to
mean,
say.
Oklahoma softball is about as dominant a program as you will find in any sport. I mean, name another sport where a program is so dominant they get to host the championship every year. Right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
sure.
it's not in wherever Oklahoma is. Norman?
Yes,
It's not in Norman, but like it's in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
Like Oklahoma is like softball central.
Sure.
So, and I think that is in part because of like Oklahoma is just there every year. Like they demand that respect. So, not a lot of programs in any sport that demand that kind of respect over decades. So, very good.
And then state baseball, 1-2, winning the game on Sunday. Friday was a tough watch. Pico Cone gives you a lead.
Con, you'll get there.
There's some debate on how to pronounce his name.
Is
Sure.
there? Are we debating this now?
Yeah, there is now a debate. I've heard multiple people say Cone.
Really?
I have, yes.
I've always said Cone.
I know you have. I don't think it's right.
Okay. Anyway,
We'll get Pico on the show to confirm.
Yeah, for sure. I could absolutely be. I'm gonna delete every.
Can you ask him next time you
record.
see him?
Next time I see him will be the Friday night he is pitching, so I will not speak.
After he's done.
Probably not. I have for work. I'm in the have to be in the dugout at the baseball game. I don't think I've spoken to one baseball player there. I give them their space because I want them to like be locked in and do what they need to do. I'm just there with a camera, just videoing home runs. It's actually really cool, and it's a very great view. But my interactions with the players are limited. Other than sorry when I bump into one because I'm wearing a backpack and have a camera and everything. It's just.
I'm just saying you have the opportunity more so than either of us
This is true.
to ask.
This is true.
Well, the ball's in your court.
Hold up. JP's girlfriend is best friends with a girl who's friends with a girl who's engaged to another pitcher.
Stone Simmons, yes.
Yeah, like that's like even
Nah.
more connected than me.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. That's I mean, you're literally first contact with them. But
That would
You could-
require me contacting them to be in
Yeah,
first contact with them.
fair. Regardless, Pico Cone has the lead. He's sitting there in the dugout. It looks like he wants to come back out there to pitch again. Looks like he's going to go out there and pitch again. And then, as we said, Stone Simmons comes out there, and then Florida just goes on a big run. We end up getting run ruled on Friday. And then a similar story on Saturday. We're in this game again. We're competing. We have the lead. We bring in the bullpen, and the bullpen just gives up a bunch of hits to this Florida offense. Florida is on the big run that we were kind of hoping to be on. With the losses this weekend, we've kind of subsided from that, and Florida continues with all that momentum. But the season isn't necessarily over. You need a sweep, and then you need to win every single series from here on forth. To be about where you need to be, which is 15 wins in the SEC, given this is the best division or best conference in baseball by far.
Yep.
15 wins in the SEC is a very good number to be and pretty much guarantees you're in the postseason most of the time and almost even guarantees a regional. Dogs will play on Tuesday in Pearl, Mississippi in the yearly game in Pearl against the school up north, and then they go to number 11 Auburn next weekend. Chris Lamonis is still not fired. A lot of people were expecting that. I think there was a chance it would have happened if they had lost on Sunday, but it did not. We won, and he is still the head coach of Mississippi State baseball.
I don't think we get fired till the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll see. And then for state basketball, we've got a bunch of transfers happening on coming in and coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically with women's basketball, we now have 2 state players that have transferred to the School of North.
Yep.
Respectfully, you are not a Bulldog anymore. That's kind of treason in our eyes.
Exactly the word I was thinking of.
Malik Heath never won an Egg Bowl. I will always, cherish that. Transferring to the other school and then, you just don't get it done. So I don't expect them to get it done ever again because they're playing for a bad school anyway.
Yep.
And then for state basketball, a bunch of big recruits, big transfers signed this weekend. A chore to name one. Sanders is hoping that we get Federico.
A&M's
You're telling
all
me a
over him.
lineup with Federico standing next to a chore.
And then Guy Chol.
Y'all need Gob.
I mean, is Gob a player? Is
Yeah.
he in the portal?
I don't think he's in the port,
Okay.
but he's a
Can
player.
we get
We
Bo-
could
can we get
force him in the
Bowl
portal.
back? Can we get him an extra year of eligibility?
That would be sick.
He's what, 7'2"?
Yes, 7'2".
I only know that because of me and Jack were looking at stuff earlier and it came up. But if we had, a chore, and Federico, that's a dynamic lineup right there.
Federico's going to A&M, so sorry.
Y'all have a roster of 7 right now?
6. We have spots and money.
Yeah, you have a lot of spots. Can you offer a guy 2 spots? Can you offer him 2 scholarships?
He has 2 first names, so probably.
Definitely possible. But yeah, the Bulldogs basketball roster is retooling after losing a ton of players from last season. Keyshawn Murphy going to Auburn, Nwoku going to LSU, Claudio Harris graduating and going to the NBA. He's trying to. It looks like Hub is going to come back. So we they're building. That my only gripe would be the fan base, specifically on Twitter. If we're going to just tear apart Jans for the entirety of what felt like March and February, and then once he gets these transfers, which we're an SEC school, we're going to get transfers. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. Now we're celebrating him, saying Jans is the man. Jans is the dentist. He got it done again.
Root canal on the portal.
Specifically, one burner said that Jans was doing a root canal without giving any anesthesia to numb the pain at all. Actually, a burner account that we know specifically. But, yeah, it's just kind of annoying. Why are we going to tear this guy apart and then celebrate him when he does what he's supposed to do and what we would expect would happen, especially with the basketball program we're trying to build. But that's kind of it for your
I can do
state
women's
sport
transfers.
update. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
There's been so we did lose. Well, my computer
Page
browser
unresponsive
does not
is
want
tough.
to work. I think I'm gonna be able to do most of it from memory. We've lost 2 players to Ole Miss. Unfortunately, Debrisha Poe and Denham DeShields.
Mhm.
Poe was, I think, our leading scorer last year. Maybe Drakela, but she was definitely up there, one of our best scorers.
They're both
especially from
bums
3.
now. It just doesn't matter what they did last year.
True. We are bringing in a player from Ole Miss, Carissa Richardson.
She made
did
the right
not
decision.
Did not play a lot last season. 10 minutes a game, 4 points a game, and then we are also bringing in. This is a player I'm excited about, and I don't know that. Yes. So Sanaya King was the rookie of the year last year in the MEAC, averaging 11.5 points per game with 31 starts. So that was all as a freshman. So I'm very excited to see her here, a young player. It just, the most frustrating thing about, and this is just, I think I experienced frustration with our women's basketball team because Purcell has not been able to keep people in the building. Last year, we had a very good freshman class, I would say, with Montague and Miracle Shepherd and another girl whose name I can't remember, and then 2 of them left. And then this class that we just had a 4-star who just sat out for a year, and now she's transferring. She had ACL surgery. She redshirted, medical redshirt. So I think it's just been frustrating, but also it's important to remember that for as long as we've had Purcell as a head coach and as long as we've had frustrations about transfers out, we have only seen him in this wild west period of the transfer portal.
And it's not like he hasn't been successful. He's made the
Correct.
tournament twice.
Yes, and he's won 3 games.
Mhm.
So it is very, very frustrating, but I think that is not an indictment of him as a coach. I think is an indictment of when we hired him as a coach. And it's just a very unfortunate timing that me and my friend last year were texting like, can he just not keep people in the building? And then he loses
No one
a bunch
can.
of
I
people.
mean-
And I think that's just kind of the realization is like,
It's
no one can keep people in the building.
It's the state of college athletics, and unfortunately, it's the programs that can bring in the most money that are going to keep the players or bring in the better players.
Yep.
And that is becoming true time and time again. And here at State, we don't have the donor fan base that other teams do. And we also, I don't think, in this Wild Wild West era, as you said, there's an opportunity there to take a big risk and try to seize and take advantage of all these moments before their regulations come in, and we haven't done that. We've been very hesitant. And then there's just been a lot of turmoil to it at the wrong time as well. Passing of Leach, firing of Ben Howland, Sam Purcell's a new coach coming in, and then the only stability we've really had anywhere is baseball and softball, where we've had a coach that's been here for multiple years.
Is Lamonis the longest tenured coach?
I do believe so.
I think it might be Ricketts. I mean, I can't remember how long she's been here, but our softball coach has
They're
been
right
here.
next to each other in
Yeah.
terms of
Gotcha.
Both our tennis coaches are
time
new.
here at State.
I know that because I've worked some tennis matches, but both our tennis coaches are fairly new, I believe.
Sure.
Um,
I don't know how much
Our men's coach
NIL
is
is
a little
affecting
older.
tennis.
No, it's not. I'm just thinking. It just made me think like, who is the longest tenured coach?
Because can international guys even get NIL?
I don't know.
Supposed.
I'm sure they can because
Yeah.
there's no rule on
You're right,
anything,
you're right.
so.
Yeah, this is true.
Um,
Anyone can get an NIL. That's crazy.
I mean, anyone can transfer, apparently. There's
I mean,
Guys-
okay.
if
Did you see what
see-
Ian Shefflin said though?
Yeah.
He
Oh,
posted. He tweeted and was like, which I'll explain the context in just a minute. But he tweeted and was like, "I'm pursuing professional basketball, but my agent advised me to enter the portal because there's some NCAA like court rulings we're waiting on."
Mhm.
And so, like, he told me to enter the portal on the very slim chance that I'll get more eligibility.
how about that?
So he basically is being like, yeah, I don't have eligibility, but maybe I'll get some.
Yeah, I mean, we're
That's what
Go ahead.
That's what I imagine Shaquille Moore, who just
Correct.
entered the
Yeah,
portal
that's
is
what
like.
I was going
I'm
to
saying.
say, for context, there's a lot of people entering the basketball transfer portal that have no eligibility left, but they're just basically hoping that they get gifted a fifth year with the
or sixth.
or
or
sixth,
seventh.
depending
And
on
we're seeing in college football with the JUCO rule
Yeah.
correct.
come into effect.
I'm kind of curious at what point do we end up where the NCAA, like, there is just no limit because the NCAA has no power to enforce that.
I mean, we're kind of close.
That's kind of already the problem.
Yeah.
Josh Pate has said it a bunch of times, kind of stealing for him, but it's really a thing of that these agencies, one, you don't have to have any credibility to be an agent. We could be agents for a football player, a basketball player.
Hit
but
us up.
you can. There's no legality because you can really do anything you want, and then the NCAA can say, "Well, you can't do that." But then it's like, well, what power do you have over me? Because you really don't. And
Yeah.
you saying I can't do something like that is at the end of the day, it almost comes unconstitutional for you
Yeah.
to say that because there is no rule or regulation in place to keep me from doing that. Whether it be, asking for a new contract mid-season or anything like that.
Yeah.
There are no rules. It's a wild, wild west. As
The
you
rules
said.
the rules are coming. That's my hope. The rules have to come because this is not going to work long term.
Sure.
I feel like
Agreed.
we've had this conversation before, so I don't want
Yeah,
to.
we can
Oh,
move
it
on.
should just be a conversation you continue to have because it's,
Correct. I just don't want to say the same things over and over again.
Yeah,
I literally feel like we talked about this like a show ago.
I mean, I hope that these people that have played 4 solid years don't get more eligibility because it's time for them to move on and it's time to get new players and stuff. It's kind of one of the fun/special things about college athletics is just you always have new stars and
Mhm.
new people making names for themselves. So no disrespect to Ian Shefflin. I don't necessarily need to see him play another season of 30+ games because he's done it 3 times already
Yeah.
or 4 times already. So, do you have anything else to say as the Mississippi State sports fans
No.
on the set, or can we move on?
Nope.
All right. We
We didn't even talk about the spring game. Not a whole lot to talk about.
Kamario Taylor apparently looked good.
I mean, it's just they're just don't overreact to the spring game.
Yeah.
It's just about the worst thing you can
It
do.
just kind of sucks that you can't record it or anything. They couldn't stream it or anything
Yeah.
because the transfer portal, they'll just poach your players.
Yep.
I mean, Kamario
Uh,
Taylor would look pretty good in the correct/better maroon and white of A&M.
Okay.
I'm very excited to see specifically our safeties, Isaac Smith and Tony Mitchell.
I mean, Isaac Smith was a dog for us
in
in
college football
NCAA in
25.
college football
Dude,
25.
first round pick, second round. I think he got up to first round.
I think it was
He was absolutely
Pick
animal.
six machine.
He's I believe he's playing kind of a who was the Clemson linebacker we talked about?
Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons. I believe he's playing kind of that role where
He kind of was playing that last season.
he's going to play some straight up linebacker. He's putting a little bit of weight. He can play in the slot as a corner. He can hang with slot receivers. And I was also reading an article that they used him a good bit, like just almost in a pass, like setting the edge against the run as an edge defender, and then bringing him in pressure as a blitzer. Like he could be very diverse as a defender, and he was good last season as a sophomore, true sophomore. So I'm very excited to see him as a junior, in his second year in a system surrounded by some better talent. I'm excited to see him with Tony Mitchell. So it's, and then you've got Stonka playing safety as well, which I am really interested to see how that goes.
Wasn't he a wide receiver?
He was brought in as a 4-star wide receiver. He he did not redshirt.
He's on the Mikey Sanders still.
He did not redshirt.
He played
Career
he played
path.
special teams.
He
last
played
season.
special teams, and that's kind of how I think the transition, maybe the coaches were already thinking about it, but the people picked up on it because I would not be surprised if he had the hardest hits of any player on our team.
Oh yeah, he had some really
on
really
special
good plays
teams.
last
I mean,
season.
just coming downhill to get the punt return or the kick returner. I mean, he was leveling guys. It made me wince listening to it and watching it. So I would be very interested to see. I'm excited to see that. I wouldn't be surprised if he redshirted this year, just because we have such a deep safety room with Tony Mitchell and Isaac Smith, and then we brought in another transfer.
I don't think I'd
Um,
ever redshirt anyone with the current landscape
This is true.
I'd be surprised if he did.
because you have no guarantee he's going to be on this
Yeah.
team next year.
I guess that's fair, but also he's now been playing safety for 4 months.
Yeah, I think I'd
pretty
just
much.
rather just still run him out there on special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he doesn't play, but he may just play. I don't know.
I'd just play him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know if
Not going to be good.
the
so.
the safety. We already have so much safety depth. I don't know that we will have how much
But also, if you're going to move
opportunity there will
Isaiah
be to
Simmons
play.
around a lot, it does kind of
Isaac Smith.
Yeah, Isaac Smith. Sorry,
Yeah,
Isaiah
you
Simmons.
good.
Yeah. It does just kind of open up some room. I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. But is that any more spring game analysis?
Our running back room could be one of the best running back rooms in
It's
the
going to be a
SEC.
really fun two-man punch.
yeah.
Well, you got the guy from South Alabama.
Fluff Bothwell,
Yeah.
Bothwell, and then we have Devon Booth, who I mean I don't. He basically went on a tear in SEC play. I don't want to misreport stats, but he was up there in like yards and touchdowns in conference play.
Is the offensive line going to be good enough to support a consistent run game? I'm genuinely asking because I don't know.
I think.
I mean,
it
y'all
could-
probably don't know either. But
I do think it could be just with
We'll
the
see.
pieces we've brought back. I think it's going to be dependent on Lebby. Game planning to basically protect the O line in ways that like you can't aren't player based but are scheme based.
sure.
And I think that he's a good enough offensive coordinator to do that. I do think that with the pieces we brought back and then also the pieces we brought in, that we will have we will be improved everywhere
I mean, you would hope. The team was
except for
terrible last
potentially
year.
wide receiver. Wide receiver is but even at wide receiver,
Who was the best wide receiver last year?
Mario
Coleman.
Craver.
Kevin Coleman.
There's debate for
One
I mean,
A,
they
one
were
B.
two very
guys.
different. They were two
Sure.
very different. Three guys.
Kelly Akariye.
It's Kelly Akari, I think.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Tomato,
It doesn't.
tomato.
Anyway, yeah, those three guys were absolutely our three best wide receivers. I don't, you can rank them in whatever order you want. Three very different skill sets. One we lost transfer. We lost Kevin Coleman, transferred to Missouri. Kelly Akari was out of eligibility and went to the draft, and I don't think he's not projected to get drafted. And then Mario Craver went to Texas A&M.
He got a touchdown in our spring game.
Yeah,
Yep.
but he got arrested too.
Correct.
Yeah, but he's already back in playing, so
He's a criminal.
it was for
Yeah.
weed. It happens.
I like our wide receiver
guess
room
that's
too.
fair.
I
We
mean,
brought in a
Tony Mitchell got caught with more than just weed, and he's on y'all's team.
He's a dog though.
Yeah, A&M wanted him out of high school.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the wide receiver room looks like. We brought in a former 4-star from Ole Miss who's very talented but never played there because of issues with the playbook.
Is he really that talented if he never played?
Yes, I think that his was scheme
Did Patrick
problems.
Mahomes play his first season in the NFL?
Hmm?
Did Patrick Mahomes play?
Well,
his
they had
first season in the
NFL legend Alex Smith. So
Yeah, Alex Smith was a dog that year. Him and Spencer Ware out of the backfield, that was just unstoppable.
Let's get to the NBA.
yes, please.
You don't want to talk about Spencer Ware as a running back?
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I could never talk about state
Or the
sports.
last-
and I'd be fine.
The end of the Jamal Charles career?
I raced against Jamal Charles one time in a museum. I mean, it wasn't actually him, but it was like it was a decoy on a slider thing,
Uh-huh.
you know, and it ran his speed
Mm-hmm.
or whatever his maybe it was his combine speed.
And you won?
Oh no. I think it even gave me a head start. Not gonna lie, I was like
Probably.
10 or 11, and it was like 20 yards, and it just didn't matter.
Oh, last thing before we get to the NBA, just because this is another little thing. So we talked on our last episode about how fast we could throw a baseball. Jack said 70. There is a place near here that I think we could go, and like they have like a radar gun and bullpen.
Do we know for sure they have a radar gun?
I'm going to assume that they have if it's a pitching facility that they're going to have.
I mean, you would hope. I mean, you can ask when you call,
I'm going to call
because
them
it'd be really unfortunate
try
of
and,
us
like,
to
'cause I
go
think we
there
can
and
get
then
there for,
not
like,
be able to
pretty
radar.
cheap and just go for like 30 minutes, warm up, get a couple pitches in, see what we hit.
I mean, JP's throwing 98.
AJ, are you okay
Cut
with
that in
us?
half.
Are you okay with us videoing you pitching and then posting it?
Yeah, I don't care. I already showed y'all a video of me pitching.
Yeah, but
I don't care.
yeah,
That's in the
maybe your
works.
form's gotten better.
It'll happen at some point.
I doubt it.
But we can move on to the NBA.
Yes,
I
now we
might
can.
throw faster. We'll see.
I feel like you're gonna throw faster.
I'm 40 pounds heavier than I was.
You're throwing faster.
So I
And
feel
peak
like
male
If you throw 44 again, 48.
44.
45. It was
If you
45.
throw 45 again, I'll be severely disappointed.
Same.
So, break
I-
50.
I hate.
I believe
that-
in you.
Okay, did y'all know that in the MLB, one of my friends who played baseball he's a big baseball guy. He told me this. You know, Ben Joyce holds the record 105.5.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's called 106.
You round up.
I mean, we've already talked about this.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I said it, and I remember we already talked about it. I don't know. That bothers me.
Someone's
Let's move
averaging 19.8 points on the season. I'm saying they're averaging 20.
on. This is true, but we can move on.
It's perfect.
Take it away with the NBA.
I was going to say, what I have been waiting
I'm gonna
for
watch
on the
the
show.
Padres.
I think JP's been waiting for this as well.
Yeah.
Sanders, you want to pull up we're going to start with what Saturday games.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll do the Sunday games.
I
for
don't know.
yesterday's
I
game.
have them labeled in my computer as NBA game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We'll hit the first ones. We'll see what
yeah,
it is.
whatever it is.
Lakers Timberwolves.
Oh,
Take it away.
okay.
This is the order you rank them of intrigue.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's why they're not in any specific order. They're just JP's level of intrigue.
All right. Let's
The
do Timberwolves.
Interesting. This was probably the most. I don't even know what to. The most. I don't even want to say probably surprising.
It was the
first-round
shock
match.
of the day.
The shock of the day.
Yeah, just
Yes,
say that.
correct. Because while we know the Timberwolves are very good, to eviscerate the Lakers how they did was just something I didn't see coming. You look at the stats; it's very easy to see why they shot 50% from three,
50% from 3, 51% from the field.
and they got a lot of open looks. The Lakers' game plan was basically to pack the paint, look to double Ant, not let Ant get downhill, because they don't have a rim protector. So you can't just kind of. No one's going to cover up any mistakes if someone gets downhill. It's food.
Mm-hmm.
And it just led to wide open Jaden McDaniels 3. Naz Reid got great looks. Julius Randle hit a couple, I think. Really, I mean, everyone just contributed.
Yeah, Julius Randle 4 for 6, Jay McDaniels 3 for 3, Naz Reid 6 for 9 from 3. 37 of their 42 threes would be classified as wide open or open.
So with that in mind, I expect an adjustment from the Lakers. You do also have to think that the Timberwolves role players probably had their best game of the series from a shooting standpoint. I mean, if they continue to get that
Sure.
open all series, maybe not. But I think the Lakers are going to go, we can't let them stay that open. So it honestly just kind of made for an easy game. I mean, anytime the Lakers tried to make a run or something, it was just the Timberwolves were just going to answer with threes.
Mm-hmm.
From the Lakers side of things, not really a great game. LeBron didn't necessarily play great. Reeves really struggled. Luka got his as he normally does, but it wasn't necessarily really pretty or dominant in the Luka standpoint. It was he had to work for it a lot. So I also think there's a world where this was the Lakers' worst game in this series. But what are your reactions, JP? And I can kind of give my
The
thoughts after.
the big one is the assist. So we talk
Sure.
about the two best players, Luka and Anthony Edwards. Luka Doncic had 37. He was very efficient scoring in the game. 5 for 10 from three, over 50% from the field, 8 for 9 from the free throw line. But he had one assist. So this is a Luka that normally is putting up triple double like numbers. Last season he averaged 34, 10 and 9. This is a guy who feasts off. He just points responsible for. He's averaging 60 to 70 a game, and he's responsible for 39 points in this game, and that's barely just under half of what the Lakers ended up scoring in this game. And then on the other side, the flip side, Anthony Edwards, yeah, he only has 22 points. He was 4 for 9 from three, but he had 9 assists.
Yeah.
7 of which were 3-point field goals for the Timberwolves. Their game plan for the Lakers just didn't work at all, which was pack the paint and force the drive and kick. And the Timberwolves got wide open. And when Anthony Edwards is assisting at this high of a rate, came from Nick Wright. He said it on today's show, First Things First. The Timberwolves are 7-0 this season when Anthony Edwards has 8 or more assists. It doesn't matter how many points he scores.
Sure.
They're 7-0. They are a dominant team offensively. And to pair that with how good they already are defensively, they really made a statement. So it's my big thing was the assist takeaway. It was really shock of the day. But if you go and look at for particulars like that, it's not surprising that the Timberwolves came away with this game.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway for me is talking about looking at this like down the line for this series. Is I'm interested to see how the Lakers adjust because I'm not really sure what their pivot is. I talked about it some with my brother-in-law who's a huge Lakers fan. He's really a huge LeBron fan. But we talked about, I honestly think I'd rather just play Anthony Edwards more straight up and be like, okay, he can score 35 to 40 and we can just shut down everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you when you're playing Jokic with the Nuggets, right? He can get his, but if we can just limit everything else, it'll be fine. They experimented with some Jackson Hayes minutes. Does it say he played 8 there?
8, yes.
And they didn't really go well, so I don't really think that's a viable option in this series.
Minus 11 in those 8 minutes.
Which then leaves you with a little bit of a Gobert mismatch because while Gobert doesn't have much of an offensive game, if he can just sit in the dunker spot and catch a couple lobs and be a threat there, that's something you have to look out for. The big thing for the Lakers is the offense is just not what you really would have expected from a team that has Austin Reeves, LeBron, and Luka. And I do think some of it is Luka runs, his pick and roll is going to look for the switch. If he doesn't necessarily get the switch he wants, he just is going to reset it and almost try again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you have LeBron and Reeves, so maybe you run your pick and roll, you don't get the switch you want, just swing it and change the point of attack, let them go to work.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be quite so selfish or like I don't want to say selfish because we've seen him be a great passer before, but just more. It doesn't have to be as him-centered offensively in that standpoint. But, I don't know. You're going to need more from Reeves. You're going to need more from LeBron. If Mike Conley's going to be able to guard Rui like he did in this series, that's a huge win for the Timberwolves because he's their worst defender, and it just didn't really matter. They tried to hunt him, and they couldn't get it done. It's almost like this game was so bad, it's like this just can't be how the series goes.
It does not feel like, we're going to get some close competitive games for sure. But I just don't know if Luka is ever going to be able to not be the center of the offense.
Oh, he needs to be the center of the offense. Like his usage rate should be the highest of the three.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to what extent. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, I would say I don't think Jackson Hayes is going to be playable in this series. And if you're going to play him, I think you got to commit to him. But for me, it's their Timberwolves are going to play Gobert, and it seems like offensively, at least through the first game, that he's not going to be a big focal point, especially when the Lakers go small. He shot 2 shots in this game, scored 2 points, and he only had 6 rebounds as a big. So for me, it goes small, and if the Timberwolves are just not going to take advantage of that and feed him in the post, say you put LeBron on Gobert, then you should be better off offensively. For me, my pick and roll would be, in my opinion, the most dangerous pick and roll in the NBA, outside of maybe Jamal Murray Jokic, I would run Luka Doncic and LeBron James pick and roll all day. And then when I wanted to swing it, I'd swing it to Austin Reeves and have
Yeah.
somebody screen for him. But I would throw your 2 shooters in the corner, Achimura and Dorian Finney-Smith or Gabe Vincent, and then I would just run pick and roll with Luka and LeBron. LeBron as a roll man just sounds insanely dangerous.
He can do it though.
And you can also run it the other way around, where Luka's setting the screen and he pops, and it frees up LeBron on a guard, which he can overpower. But I think it's going to be a problem for the Lakers offensively this entire series. It kind of showed. The key for them is they have to keep these role players from shooting well, which means, and in my opinion, you got to contest them, because we've seen this has kind of been a story in basketball this entire year, and it's not really a news story. It's the truth. When a player is shooting well, they up their intensity defensively.
Yeah.
And so when Jaden McDaniels is 3 for 3 from 3 and has 25 points, he becomes so much more dangerous on the defensive end.
He does not feel tired at all.
Yeah, exactly. Julius Randle, 4 for 6 from 3. He can play better defensively, and this is a guy that kind of struggles to play defensively. Naz Reid is 6 for 9 from 3, and then he can go down there and he can play really good defensively because he's feeling it on the offensive end. When you limit the shooters from getting these easy looks and they don't shoot as well, that's when you can take advantage of them on the other end, because then they're like, well, damn, I just missed a wide-open 3. What am I doing? Or I just missed a 3. What am I doing?
Yeah.
They lack focus. Boom, Luka, LeBron, dunk. So for me, they've got to take advantage of that. My philosophy, especially in the NBA specifically, I don't think it can work in college basketball because so little points are scored. But because there's so many points scored, just let the star score 50. Who cares? That's not even half of the amount of points the Timberwolves scored in this game. Just let Jokic score 50. Let Giannis score 50. Let Anthony Edwards score 50. If Edwards goes one-on-one for 19 seconds, and then he gets, after 17 dribbles, gets a nice little layup at the rim, who cares? It was 2 points. 3 is better than 2, especially in today's NBA. And if he wants to go score 50, who cares? I don't think you can look at a game like this and see, Anthony Edwards, 9 assists. That's going to be something that we continue to keep this scheme that we had in this game 1.
I agree.
They have to adjust. I mean, all teams after losing are probably going to adjust every time. But
JJ Redick's game plans have been good this year, so I am very, very interested to see where this goes. I want to move on pretty quickly, but I'll give kind of final thoughts, and if you want to say one more thing, you can.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that, he's been very good. Once again, we've said it before, doesn't make me think the Timberwolves are just going to cruise with this series, but this game 1 result definitely made me raise my eyebrow more than any other game or any other series. Another thing, too, is the Timberwolves didn't look scared at all, and I think that's very much because of Anthony Edwards' mentality. He has the perfect star mentality. I think he believes he can beat anybody. And, I mean, it's a very reasonable belief that they have. It's not, insane for them to believe that they're this good. They went to the conference finals last year. Anthony Edwards is a great player. But I think they walked into L.A. and walked out with a 22-point win in game 1. They handled the bright lights perfectly.
I think for the casual fan, it's easy to walk into this series and you just watched March Madness and you saw a really chalky March Madness, and you see 3 for the Lakers and 6 for the Timberwolves next to their names, and you think, the Lakers are just way better than Timberwolves. The Lakers won 1 more game than the Timberwolves this season. These are very, very even teams.
The Timberwolves 100% believe they're better than the Lakers.
Yeah,
no doubt.
They don't care. But for the Timberwolves, they get to play with house money, because if you lose to the Lakers, you just lost to Luka and LeBron. Who cares? Nobody believes in them, so they get to play with a ton of confidence, and they took advantage of that in game 1.
The odds-wise, the swing in the series is crazy. The Lakers were 140 point favorites, and it's completely flipped. The Timberwolves are now 140 point favorites, which is a pretty massive betting swing off of just 1 game. But we can go and move on unless you want to add anything else.
No, let's do it.
Just a huge game. I'm very excited for game 2 there. What do we got game 2 wise here?
Rockets,
Game
Warriors.
2, Rockets Warriors.
All right, JP, I'll let you kick this one off because I know you're gonna have a lot to say, and I'm not gonna agree with all of it, but I'll let you get your thoughts out first.
Yeah, wow, what a statement for me, because the Houston Rockets are one of the best defenses in the league. Obviously, the Warriors have been great defensively since getting Jimmy Butler. They were the number 1 defense in the league since getting Jimmy Butler. But for the Golden State Warriors to go into Game 1 and to win that game the same way the Rockets want to win games in this series, which is gritty, grimy. We could get down to the last 5 minutes, and then we get one stop and we win the game. Not too different to the way the Houston Cougars basketball team plays. Very gritty, grimy, low scoring, low pace. But the Warriors were up to the task. They got out to a big lead. They were up 20 at one point, or 23 at one point after the Curry hits the 3, and Kevin Harlan says that wasn't geometrically possible.
What a call.
Yeah, what a call. I agree. My favorite call of the playoffs so far. And there's only been 8 games. But, yeah, no, for a Warriors guy, I was ecstatic to see that result, especially down in the final 5 minutes. It felt exactly like how it was supposed to feel, which is the Rockets just didn't have the guys to hit the big shots. Moses Moody hit a huge 3 for the Warriors.
That was the backbreaker,
but
in my opinion.
Van Vliet was missing open looks, and it didn't look. Jalen Green was terrible in this game. 7 points, 3 for 15 from the floor. Şengün was really the only bright spot. Van Vliet he's 2 for 13. He hits a big 3 in the last 5 minutes, but he was 1 for 10 up to that point. I think you saw a Rockets team showed their inexperience. I looked up the stat on the drive back home this afternoon. The Rockets were 30th in shooting percentage in the last 5 minutes in clutch games.
In clutch game.
Which for context, there's 30 teams in the NBA. So this is not to be surprised. If these games are going to be close down the stretch in this series, the Rockets are going to have to win it defensively. Now, they do have a good chance to do that. The Warriors over the past few years have been really bad in clutch games, especially with turning the ball over. Curry's been guilty of that many times. But for a Warriors guy, man, it's like, okay, I think this is wrapped up. If they win Game 2, this series is over. The Rockets are in a must-win. And Curry cooked. It didn't really matter who you put him on him. Jalen Green, Aben Thompson, Brooks. Playoff Jimmy was there. He had 25, 6, and 7 with 5 steals. The big thing for the Rockets you have to fix is you got to limit the turnovers. The Warriors had 14 steals, and that's just a ton. And if you're going to struggle so much offensively, you can't give them free possessions.
Sure.
And that was kind of one of the other stories of the game.
Yeah, you actually didn't say too much I disagreed with. Maybe you just were a little more tame on air. Nah, I'm just joking.
I
this-
disagree with all of it.
This makes me feel very good about my Warriors in 6 prediction from our show on Thursday. Just
I don't
because
remember my predictions. Do we write all? I mean, I think I wrote mine down.
I mean
Didn't you write a rhyme?
I did. I wrote them all down on rhyme. Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. I'll go back and look at.
I think you had Rockets here. I'm pretty sure you had Rockets
Did
here
I?
because me and JP would give our pick, and then you would say kind of the opposite more often than not.
What else is new?
So, I mean, just the Warriors were up big, and then the Rockets kind of buckled down and started getting some turnovers. I do think the double big minutes of Steven Adams. Steven Adams caused a lot of problems on the glass.
Oh, yeah.
Which was something we knew was probably going to happen coming into this series. Bill Simmons on his podcast today said something interesting. When they took Steven Adams out with like 5 minutes left, he's like, "Do you think Steve Kerr was like, okay, thank goodness, like they just took out Steven Adams for Jalen Green. Like now we're fine." Because that caused a lot of issues. So I'm interested to see if there's adjustments if they go to that 2 big lineup more often and earlier, what that does. But I mean, Fred Van Vliet and Jalen Green, who are the Rockets' 2 supposed shot makers, were just abysmal. And I do think why I said Warriors in 6, I do think they'll have a couple games where they probably shoot well enough to get a couple wins. But you just, in no world, are going to trust them as much as Curry and Jimmy Butler. Like, I mean, you're not going to trust almost anybody more than Butler and Curry, but especially these 2 guys. And they showcase that. So it's just they're not going to score in the crunch time like they're going to need to win 4 games in this series, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're a really young team.
Yeah.
They're really, really good defensively. And but they're really different when you compare them to the Thunder because they just don't have a bucket getter.
There's no SGA.
Yeah, there's no SGA. Jalen Williams was an outstanding bucket getter on Sunday. And, yeah, the Rockets just don't have that, especially down the stretch of games. They're outstanding defensively, and they play at with a lot of intensity and a really high motor like that Oklahoma City team. They just don't have the scores to match with it. So that'll be something they need to fix here come the offseason.
And they will. I mean,
Which is crazy. After game one, you already start talking about the offseason, but it really does feel that way. The Rockets are really going to need to, for the Warriors, one, are probably going to have to choke 2 of these games. The Rockets needed to steal this one to really have a chance in this series, but it really kind of just feels like this is already over.
I agree. And I mean, talking about the offseason conversation real quick, it's even if the Rockets somehow win the series, it does not change that they need a number one.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that guy's on their team. It's not like you're like, oh, I mean, we've seen numerous years of Jalen Green. I think it's pretty clear he's not that guy. Maybe Amon Thompson, just a crazy jump, but I think even if he somehow lives up to that crazy ceiling, that's a couple years away still.
And he was never supposed to be the prolific scorer.
No.
That's not what he was drafted for.
I mean, he technically,
or Azar.
I think there is that ceiling is in there somewhere. It's very unlikely he reaches it. You're not going to bank on that, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to look elsewhere outside the organization for that
them.
number
It's kind
one.
of frustrating because they, like the Thunder as well, have had all these big draft picks and getting to pick high up in the lottery, but these players just haven't developed. Jabari Smith out of Auburn was drafted. He's supposed to be this prolific. He was a great scorer in college. His rookie season 12-7, second season 12-7, this season 12-7.
He can't dribble well enough to get to his spots, so it doesn't matter. He's going to knock down his spots from his shots.
Exactly. And then you have other big draft picks like Jalen Green. In 2K, the Rockets become a powerhouse because Jalen Green can score 28 a game. But in real life, this just doesn't happen. Cam Whittemore is just not good enough to play playoff minutes, and he's a scorer for them.
I mean, Şengün's a nice piece, but he's not a number one option, really. So they'll definitely have to look elsewhere. I mean, Kevin Durant very well could be on the market. There's going to be other guys on the market. Excuse me. And they have pieces to trade and stuff, too. They're gonna find a guy. But I agree that I think talking about how the Lakers game one made me raise my eyebrow the most. This one was like, yeah, I mean, go figure. This is kind of what I saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have anything else to say, we can move on to game 3.
No, let's do it.
Cool. What do we got? It's
Nuggets Clippers.
perfect.
What a great game.
Probably the best game of the opening round.
By far.
Pure cinema. I think you could unpack this game for 30 minutes because there's just so many levels. I don't even know where to start, to be honest. I'm kind of getting giddy here thinking about it. I guess I'll start with the Nuggets side of things. You win game 1 by 2 in overtime, which is, I mean, you're never going to complain about winning a game, but you do kind of feel like they escaped there. They got a pretty bad game from the Clippers. A lot of inexplicable turnovers down the stretch by the Clippers. Kawhi wasn't really all that great. I mean, James Harden did some of his thing, but just kind of, bad turnover. It felt like Clippers basketball, honestly. It's what the Clippers do is they don't win games in the playoffs. And then from the Nuggets side of things, Jokic plays well. Jamal Murray was inefficient, which is, not too uncommon of Jamal Murray. They couldn't even play Michael Porter Jr., which is huge for the rest of this series because that means you have to play Westbrook. And
Why couldn't they play him?
He's not good.
Just wasn't good.
Yeah.
He had 3 points. He only shot 4 times, but he was really it was just like, yeah, you can't play this guy.
And this is a sidebar or a tangent, but I feel like that is where they really messed up trying to make this a dynasty is giving him $40 million, because all he does is shoot, and you can find so many guys to shoot. You don't need to pay a shooter $40 million. So that's an aside. But we got a quintessential Russell Westbrook experience with, big plays. He poked the ball away at the end and on the inbounds, but he does whatever the heck that was to end regulation.
Yep.
Or tries to throw it off the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He hits a huge 3 out of nowhere, but the amount of space the Clippers were giving him was insane. It was probably 6 or 7 feet a shot. It was no respect whatsoever, which makes sense because it's Russell Westbrook. But yeah, huge game 1 for the Nuggets, but I honestly don't. Game-wise, the Clippers have to be kicking themselves in the locker room after this game that they lost this somehow.
Yeah, agreed.
Looking long-term at the series, I feel like they are as confident as ever that they can win this series, just because of how this game played out and how bad they played, and it was right there for the taking. It was on the road, so it's not like you lost a home playoff game. You still get all your home playoff games. So I still think they're as confident as ever, but it just does hurt to let this one slip away.
Yeah, the Westbrook game, it felt, I mean, it was the quintessential Russell Westbrook game. The big plays, the three that he's not supposed to hit. His offensive rebounding was substantial in this game. He had a big one
Huge down the stretch, yeah.
down the stretch. And then the inexplicable missed layups, turnovers, you name it. It felt so much like what I watched a week ago on Sunday in the Masters, watching Roy McIlroy. It was like
It's a great comparison.
you watch, man, that's the greatest shot I've ever seen, and then he misses a putt to win the Masters, and or he puts it in the water on 13. It felt so much like that. This Westbrook game in Game 1, and the Nuggets were able to get by and escape and really win a game they honestly probably shouldn't have. Harden, yeah, I agree. The Clippers got to be kicking themselves because they got an outstanding Harden playoff game, 32-11.
Zubats was pretty good.
6. Zubac, is really showing, he's a great answer for Jokic, and he's not. What's great about it is this season, it's clear he's not scared of Jokic, and he can score now at a high rate too. So he becomes really, really effective for the Clippers. When in the past it was like, well, in the last 5 to 6 minutes, you probably can't play him, and you'd rather play Batum or you'd rather play Robert Covington in the past over Zubac. But now he's so good defensively and even offensively that he gets these big minutes, especially down the stretch. For the Clippers, this is a game we probably should have won. When you get a good Harden game, Russell Westbrook wasn't really good. But I kind of agree. The Clippers, I think, are in the driver's seat. If they can win tonight, it really becomes a series that they would have to lose.
Which they love to do.
Oh,
so.
yeah, absolutely. But because the Nuggets, it seems like they're just one player away. They have 4 really good players they're going to play all of these minutes. And then it's, well, who's the 5th guy going to be? Is it going to be Peyton Watson? Is it going to be Michael Porter Jr.? Or is it going to be Russell Westbrook?
Sure.
And all 3 of those guys, unfortunately, because it's basketball, which is what I love about the sport, they have to play both ways, and they have to play offense and defense. So if you're a weakness, you're going to be found, you're going to be targeted, and they're going to take advantage of you. And that was seen with Michael Porter Jr., and that was also seen with Westbrook. When you all right, go ahead, Westbrook. If you're going to hit the 3, and you beat us. They're going to take advantage of that this entire series. On the flip side, it kind of feels like the Clippers can play about 7 guys, and Bogdanovich wasn't good in this game. He was 0 for 3 from 3, and he's a guy that they think they can lean on.
He can hit
series.
big shots.
But you have 7 guys in Batum, Derek Jones, Chris Dunn, and then your 4 best players in Norman Powell, Harden, Zubac, and Leonard. The advantage feels like it's with L.A. Like I said, it's going to be a very interesting home court advantage series. The Clippers are really, really good. They're 30-11 at home this season and 20-22 now on the road. And the Nuggets with Mile High have been really, really good at home, and their crowd is really, really good. So it's going to be interesting. I would lean Clippers, or I actually feel more confident about the Clippers now than I did before Game 1. But in a large part, that is because the Nuggets just don't look as good as you would expect them to. And when you have to play Westbrook these clutch minutes, he's going to be in some spots, and he's going to
lose him one at some point.
Yeah,
they're
probably going to lose him a game. That's not the last we'll see of Russell Westbrook making interesting plays in the last 5 minutes. But yeah, I can't wait for this game here in 2 hours. This is going to be a 7-game series, and it's going to be electric.
Yeah, a couple things I want to add. One, the Ben Simmons minutes are just really funny because he may be the worst offensive player in the NBA, which is crazy to think where he was. But he just has no confidence. He'll get the rebound, and then it's like, I mean, he just, for a guy that, used to just, handle the ball like no other, I mean, for his size, was just, pretty crafty. I mean, he's kind of like me playing intramural basketball. It's like I'm like, where's the guard? Where's the guard?
Sure.
Where's the guard? He's just lost out there, and it's just funny to watch. I feel a little bad for him.
It just feels like he's a warm body.
Yeah, correct.
He's just taking up minutes just to take up minutes. He's just out there.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And then Jokic, unsurprisingly, was not very good defensively, especially in the first half. Talking about guys you could hunt, he was one of those. He's just not. I don't know if it's just. I guess I just don't watch close enough. But I'm like, I just don't remember him always being this bad defensively, I guess. So I don't know if that's just me not remembering correctly or what, or if he has just simply gotten worse,
I think it was.
or if there's just a bad matchup for him.
I think
but
it's been a loss of players that has hurt this because they had Bruce Brown, who was excellent defensively.
KCP.
KCP,
Yeah,
is
you're right. That
excellent
makes sense.
defensively. When you can play Porter Jr., he's really, really good on the perimeter because he's 6'10" and long. And so now these guys Harden is just getting past Jamal Murray and Christian Brown at will, and now you're forcing Jokic to be a rim protector, which is what he isn't. And then Zubac is a bad matchup for him because Zubac is
Just as
terrific
big.
down on the post, and he's got post moves himself, and so it's really a tough matchup for Jokic. He's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be just a. It's gonna be like Stephen Curry games. Yeah, Curry's gonna give up 25 points, but if he scores 41,
It's a positive.
It's a positive. It doesn't really matter. Jokic is gonna have to be very similar. He's gonna have to score 30. And he's probably gonna have to triple double in every single game that they win.
Yeah.
He was 1 rebound short. They took it away. That was a big betting controversy. They took it away like 5 minutes after they awarded him the rebound, and so bettors around the world were pissed because that was his 10th rebound.
Yeah.
And that was for a triple double.
Feels like a bit of a scam.
That
Yeah.
happened earlier in the weekend too. It was in baseball, but there was a Yankees pitcher who
Max
was
Fried.
pitching a no hitter, and they recorded it as an error, which I think was the right call, and then like changed it a good bit later.
It was like 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it was the right call, but also I'm a Max
You don't think it was
Fried
an error?
truther. No, I do think it was an error,
Yeah, that's what I said.
but they changed it from error to a hit.
That's what I said.
Sorry,
The
you just said
error-
which I think was the right call. So I didn't thought you were talking about
they
the change was
called
the
it
right
an
call,
error,
and you
which I think was
gotcha.
the right
I'm
call.
tracking now.
And then they changed it, which I don't think was the right call. And then in an interview afterwards, someone said, "I made a call." Like the person who said it said, "I made a call," and that was the only. And then he wouldn't answer any more
Yeah,
questions.
sure.
It was like, "Well, yeah, you made a call. You changed it. What?"
Good stuff there. It doesn't really matter.
We have breaking news. Madden Iamaliava is expected to enter the transfer portal. So
Do we-
Mr. that is Nico Iamaliava's younger brother.
we just think he's got to be going to UCLA because
I
he
have-
almost went there anyway, did he not?
Yeah,
He's got to be going there.
He's an early enrollee too. So he was committed to UCLA, didn't go, decommitted, and UCLA was apparently like shocked when he like they thought that he was coming there. It wasn't like it was like they thought they had him. Decommits, goes to Arkansas as an early enrollee over Christmas break, so this spring semester, and now everyone's tweeting like, "Oh, the dad is at it again." So-
He'll just be good.
I can't wait. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't get that personally.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Continue. That was the breaking
He's
news.
just I'm kind of over their family. So,
I can't wait to see what happens next.
but
Did you see the UCLA quarterback that
yeah,
transferred out is now going to Tennessee?
yeah. I mean, it's cinema, and in that regard, I need him
it's
to ball out at
beautiful.
Tennessee, which is crazy because I hate Tennessee. But back to the NBA. I think we kind of
Yes,
wrap up
please.
Nuggets Clippers game 1.
Yeah.
I'll just end it saying this was the series I was most excited for going into it, and it still is. My expectations almost somehow raised after this first game. So it's 7:03 now. Game tips off at 9. I will be seated for that.
Absolutely.
Can't wait. And then what's game 4, Sanders, on our
Knicks Pistons.
roulette wheel? Knicks Pistons. This game or this review/reaction almost had a very different narrative. And then, I mean, the Pistons were up 8 or 9.
They're up 98-90.
Thank you. Yep.
8 minutes and 30 seconds left.
And then lost by 11, just collapsed. Could not score. It was like a 17-0 Knicks run.
21-0.
21-0 Knicks run. Just took over. Some inexperience probably shows there. The Pistons haven't been here before. The Knicks have. I saw the Asor Thompson missed dunk looms large in my head as they're up 4, and he goes to just two-hand hammer it, and it just pops off the back iron and kicks up. Knicks go down and score, but just not. I don't know, not the result I wanted as a Knicks hater and a Cade Cunningham fan. But I'm not too surprised, I guess, that this is how this went down, because especially as good and as fun as the Pistons have been, their scoring options aren't the most threatening, especially outside of Cade. So it's kind of talking about Houston. I don't think it's nearly as dire as Houston, but it feels kind of the same way as when the game gets tight. Who can you really trust to get you buckets? And I think we kind of saw that here, JP.
Yeah, it was 98-90 with like 9 minutes left. And then the Knicks go on a 21-0 run, and they do that in 4 minutes. They don't do it over the course of the rest of the fourth quarter. 21-0 run in 4 minutes across 2 timeouts as well. Just absolutely insane. I do want to say, like, the Garden, man, that place is awesome, especially to watch playoff games.
Shout out Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan, all the celebrities are there. It's so cool to watch a sport that you love be celebrated and watched so intensively by these celebrities specifically. It's not something they're like, oh, we're just there because this is the thing to be at. No, they love the Knicks and they love New York, and you can really see that in the entire building. And New York is that's one of the best home court advantages in the entire playoffs. Yeah, the Pistons got to be scratching themselves. They get the good Tim Hardaway game, which was the X factor I had brought up on last Wednesday. Tim Hardaway, when he scores 10 or more, they are 27-16. They are now 27-17. They got a really good Tim Hardaway game. They also got a great Tobias Harris game.
Kind of out of nowhere.
He kind of had, he's 25 points. Malik Beasley was good as expected. The league leader in threes this season with 20. And Cade Cunningham, he struggled early. That was a big kind of a storyline early on, but it really didn't matter. The Pistons kind of took advantage. They took the lead in the third quarter, and then you get into the fourth quarter, you're up 8, and they just weren't able to close it out. It was really, really, it was surprising to watch because it felt like you're sitting there with 9 minutes left, and you're like, okay, the Pistons are about to steal this game from the Knicks. It wasn't like now the series is over kind of thing, but it felt like this was going to be the shock of the day, and not the Timberwolves Lakers, and the Pistons aren't able to pull it out. They didn't hit a shot for 4 minutes there. They finally get a Malik Beasley 3 to cut it to 10. He's like, come on, guys, let's lock in, and they lose by 11. It's going to be an interesting series. You hope you can get similar performances from Tim Hardaway and Tobias Harris, but when it really showed how good Jalen Brunson is compared to Cade Cunningham. That you would hope Cade Cunningham is going to be better than Jalen Brunson in this series, and that's going to be needed if the Pistons are going to win. But Brunson is he's just outstanding. And then when you get a bad game from Mikal Bridges, it's really, you're like kicking yourself. You're like, man, we should have had that one. Brunson plays outstanding. Anunoby was really good, and Karl-Anthony Towns played really, really well.
Yeah.
Knicks take game 1. What's the current score right now?
Oh, good question.
They're playing currently.
Let me get there. Pistons up 10. Pretty early, currently on an 11-2 run. There's 10.5 minutes left in the second. Let me see if there's any stat lines that jump out early in this game.
Jalen Duren has 6 and 5 early.
Yeah, Cade's up to 8 and 6. 6 rebounds, that is. Let's go to the Knicks side. I mean, it looks like pretty balanced from the Pistons early. Cat has 8. Brunson has 4 right now. I mean, it's early, but, up 8 now, the Pistons. So that's going on right now. Good call.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. The Pistons, I don't think they're going to have a problem. I'm really excited to watch them in Game 3 when they host. I'm really excited to see how Little Caesars Arena
It's going to be hopping.
fills out.
It's going to be bumping.
This is a great I talked about the Clippers and Nuggets and the home court there. This is true home court. Will the home court play a factor every single time? Maybe not. But the home courts are going to be insane.
Yeah.
I assume the Garden is lit right now as well, although they are trailing, so we'll see if they get a run. And
They just need a spark, and they'll be there.
Yeah.
I like what you said, talking about just kind of Cade to Jalen Brunson. We can look at all the non-star performances that were there, especially on Detroit's side. I will say looking at kind of the point totals from Tobias Harris and Tim Hardaway, a lot of that was in the first 3 quarters. They didn't really show up. None of the Pistons team really showed up in the fourth.
Yeah, they scored 21 in the fourth.
But, they were not guys that were there for the crunch time buckets. But Cade is just going to have to play exceptional for Detroit to have a chance in the series, and he simply wasn't that in Game 1. He wasn't terrible or anything, but he's going to have to go head-to-head with Jalen Brunson and at least be dead even with them, if not play better. And that just, I mean, exactly you said, it wasn't there Game 1. Jalen Brunson's just phenomenal, and Cade just wasn't very efficient.
Well, you can see it. Brunson he knows how to get to a spot and knows how to get a shot.
Yeah.
Cade in multiple spots in this game, he got to a spot, and then whether it was a foul or not, it's the playoffs. They're not going to call a lot of things, and he loses the ball and turns it over, and he kind of complains to the official. So that's the difference that you can see. Cade's going to have to learn that. He's going to have to learn how to get savvy at scoring like that. But yeah, the Pistons, man, you wish you had closed this one out.
Sure.
You get 11 more points than Tobias Harris averages per game. Tim Hardaway scores 8 more points than he averages per game. Malik Beasley scores 4 more points than he averages per game. I don't know. Maybe they need to play Tolu Smith. He scores 14 a game on 4 rebounds
I don't
or
know
8
about that one.
rebounds.
Has he played? Is he on a 2-way contract, or is he still?
He was on a 2-way contract. I don't know if he's on the playoff roster.
Okay.
He probably is not, but
But he played in the last game of the season, had 14 and 8. So
Yeah.
It does not look like he's on the playoff roster.
maybe he needs to get on the playoff roster for them to have a chance.
How does
Yeah.
that work? What are the rules around bringing guys up from the G League for the playoffs?
I don't actually know. It's a good question.
I have no clue. I do believe they need to be under a full-time contract.
Yeah, they'd have to convert it for sure, which isn't a huge
playing
deal
the
to do.
postseason.
It's obviously be very worth doing if you had a guy that would contribute in the playoffs.
Yeah.
One more thing I want to add about this game is Cat had 23 and 11, and was 71% from the field. Very efficient. I do feel like he likes the matchups he sees in this series. In terms of Detroit's bigs, I don't think he's really too intimidated or scared of Jalen Duren or anything like that.
He shouldn't be scared of Isaiah Stewart.
No, Isaiah Stewart may punch you or something, but in terms of actual defense, you don't need to be that worried. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how the game plays out tonight. I do really wish Detroit had got that one because I think that makes this series way more interesting, infinitely more interesting, but they didn't get it. So we'll see how they do in Game 2. As a good sign, I think they came out and took a lead because I was a little worried that would kind of be crushing to a young squad to lose Game 1 like that. What do we got, Sanders,
Game 5.
for Game 5?
Pacers, Bucks. So these are the 2 games that did not matter.
This is the one I feel most stupid about because I sat here and said I don't really trust the Pacers aside from Halliburton. And on the set, wasn't one really thinking about Pascal Siakam, and that's a slight to Pascal Siakam, at least offensively. He's someone who can get his own. Let me see how much he had in this game.
25
on 66% efficiency. So I apologize for that. And, man, this Bucks team is just not very good aside from Giannis. I know Dame is coming back, but I don't really know if the way Dame is coming back, if you can trust him at all to really perform in this series. It feels like anything you get from him is a bonus. But we saw Kyle Kuzma reenact the Tony Snell to the best visibility. Shout out Tony Snell. Just not good. I think Doc Rivers said in the post game, he was like, well, he's a good player, but, like, what do you expect someone to do when they don't have the ball? It's like, well, he played 21 minutes. Even if he doesn't get the ball, he should somehow record a stat.
Yeah, can we get his stat line for our listeners?
We can.
Who may not have
0
kept
points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers.
Was that 0 shots, or did he shoot?
took the-
0 for 5
for
with
5.
2 personal fouls.
He also missed 2 free throws.
Was the Snell not? He took 0 shots, right?
No, he took. I have no clue, to be honest.
I don't think it's a perfect Tony Snell, but as he
Yeah.
did his best Tony Snell impression.
Yeah.
It feels pretty reminiscent. It's just not good enough.
Zeros
Getting
across the
cardio.
board.
Brooke
Yeah.
Lopez only had 9. Bobby Portis had 4 on 2 of 8 from the field. I mean, Gary Trent was all right. Kevin Porter, someone that would really probably have to have a good series here to kind of turn this one around, had 12 points on 28% efficiency. I mean, Giannis did his thing, 36 and 12. I will say the one assist is kind of glaring. It kind of, I think, points out how bad the Bucks supporting cast was that Giannis had 1 assist.
Oh yeah, I mean they were 9 for 37 from 3.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help a lot. A lot of Giannis' assists are going to come from that.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers just pretty balanced attack, honestly, looking at it. I mean, you had the 25 from Siakam. Halliburton only scored 10 points, but he had 12 assists, and I think he's perfectly content to do that, to not necessarily have to be the guy that scores a ton. Nimhard, 17. Miles Turner, 19 points. J.J. McConnell, double digits. Mathurin, double digits. Neesmith chipped in 7. It was just kind of very balanced, well-rounded attack from the Pacers, and it honestly just kind of looked like too much for for the Bucks to handle. At least in this game one.
It kind of feels like just a bad matchup for them.
Sure.
In a round one. Pacers play at such a high pace, and because they're not they don't have a lot of great players, but they have so many good players that it really overwhelms the Bucks with their one arguably best player in the world, and then a bunch of guys who are mid, and played like they were mid. You need better performances from Kyle Kuzma, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis. Dame coming back in game 2, I don't think it matters because he's just not. He's a liability defensively, and because the Pacers are so good everywhere, there's no one he's going to guard.
Sure.
That's going to be a good matchup for him.
You just can't convince me he's going to be game ready either.
That as well. Neesmith is too good. He's too quick. Nimhard has apparently the shoulder of Goliath. There were some clips circulating on Twitter where he's just like throwing guys away. He broke Lopez twice in this game.
Yeah.
He just gives him a little shoulder bump and Lopez goes flying. Halliburton is too good offensively for Lillard to guard him. And even TJ McConnell, you're like, oh, TJ McConnell could take Lillard somewhere and cook him probably.
I love TJ McConnell, man. What a consistent backup point guard. He's just been around for so long.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was going to go with my thought process now because I got sidetracked by TJ McConnell. We talked about earlier, Ant. Why don't you just let Ant, do his thing and it doesn't matter. That is especially true for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Giannis can score his 40 points for all we care. It just as long as we limit the other options, and they're not that hard to limit, they're not going to beat us.
Agreed.
And so I think the Pacers are thrilled with how this first game went down. In terms of adjustments for the Bucks, I really don't know. It's kind of like you go into the locker room and
better.
I'm about to say, tell your players to play better.
Yeah, shoot better, play better. I think that's the only two things that can happen.
Another glaring oversight I feel like I had when picking them is their head coach. They have the one, the only Doc Rivers, and just a notoriously bad playoff coach. I don't expect him to turn a team around. He's probably the last coach in the league I would pick to turn a team around.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I feel like this game was pretty cut and dry. I don't really have much more to say.
No, let's move on.
Perfect.
The final game, Celtics Magic.
We will have to talk about the 1-8 matchups briefly, but we can go in and just stop here. Derek White, great game from him. Yet another. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's one game in the playoffs, but I think it's just the narrative. Like, how many times is Jason Tatum just gonna let his squad mates do the thing and get it done? I'm mainly trolling. I mean, Jason Tatum's a great player, but I mean, Derek White has 30. I mean, Peyton Pritchard gives you 19. Both those guys scored more than Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, which just tells you how deep this roster is. It's not necessarily actually a slight on Tatum or Brown. It's more of a Peyton Pritchard and Derek White are dogs. So they get the win. The Celtics win 103-86. The game was close. The Orlando was actually up at half, mainly because Franz and Paulo had big first half performances.
Yeah, shout out to Dwight Howard. He called out Paulo, and Paulo cooked.
36 and 11
and
for Paulo.
And they lose by 17, so.
Because Paulo had 36 and Franz had 23, and the next leading scorer was Jonathan Isaac with 7 points.
Yeah.
If Jonathan Isaac is your third leading scorer, you are going to get swept in the series. It's just bad. This series just doesn't really matter that much, to be honest.
No, it doesn't at all. And you can see it from just a matchup standpoint. The Celtics have 7. You could say 4. You could probably say 5 excellent players. Maybe not superstars, but just bona fide studs. And then you have guys off the bench like Al Horford with his experience, Peyton Pritchard, who's a bona fide scorer, and then even Sam Hauser can knock down a couple threes. And then you go over to the Magic, and they started Corey Joseph.
Oh, my God.
And Wendell Carter Jr. and KCP, who's just not efficient anymore. Gary Harris, who's apparently still in the NBA, played 14 minutes in this game. And then you have to play young guys like Caleb Houston and Anthony Black. Yeah, the Magic just are overmatched, overpowered. This was a 500 ball club. versus a team that was 40 wins positive. So it's really just a bad matchup for them. I don't think they were close for the half, but I don't think this is ever going to be. The Celtics are just too good to beat them. I feel like even once in this series, and that was shown throughout the season. The Celtics beat the Magic every single time. But shout out to White Howard for calling out Paulo Banchero and Paulo Cooking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you still lost by 17.
Good try, though.
So it doesn't really matter.
The only way the Magic win one is if the Celtics just fall asleep at the wheel for a game, which honestly I think they could fall asleep at the wheel for a game and still win.
Mhm.
But I think that's the Magic's really only chance. I'm kind of done talking about that series. We can hit the 1-8s really quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
The Cavs won 121 to 100. I mean, the game was a little close at times, but I was never really worried for the Cavs. Ty Jerome had a huge fourth quarter. Shout out, UVA legend Ty Jerome. He had 28 points, 5 of 8 from 3, hit 10 shots. I mean, Donovan Mitchell had 30. Darius Garland had 27. I mean, your stars showed up and played well. I mean, Donovan Mitchell didn't necessarily shoot the 3 ball well, but Miami's the 8 seed for the reason. Miami's record was 37-45 in the regular season. They snuck in because they won a couple play-in games. But this Cleveland team's just leaps and bounds better than this Miami team. So, the Miami has Tyler Hero and Bam. Tyler Hero at 21, Bam at 24. I don't know. There's just nothing really to break down.
We do have to remember that this is the 10 seed that was 8 games negative in the weaker Eastern Conference.
They were 8 games under 500.
Yeah. So it's just in the Eastern Conference, that's just outstanding for this team to be in the playoffs. Yeah, this series is going to be hopefully over in 4 games so the Cavs can, for the Cavs' sake, so they can rest up and be ready for the second round where they'll likely get a Pacers team that'll be playing with a lot of confidence. It is a team that could potentially match up well with them. But yeah, it feels like for the Eastern Conference, there is just one series that this could be a series in Knicks Pistons, but for the most part, the playoffs in the Eastern Conference is going to start in the second round with Cavs, Pacers, and Celtics Knicks.
Yeah.
And even then, it almost kind of feels like, well, that's really actually going to start in the conference finals.
Yeah, you may get one good series out of those two, which is very on par for the Eastern Conference. That has just honestly been very lackluster compared to the West for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want. Do you have anything else you want to say about this game?
No, I'd talk more about the other game than this one.
Yeah. OKC Memphis was the other 1-8 game, and it was a splattering. OKC won by 51, which is the largest game 1 victory in the first round ever. It was kind of. I think I texted. I was like, I can't believe this is allowed to be shown on television because it's a murder. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thunder players scored in double digits. Shea only had 15. He was I think 3 people scored more than him. Then Jalen Williams, not the great Jalen Williams, the Arkansas Jalen Williams, the guy that took 18 million charges in college, had 9. Casey Wallace only scored. Oh my gosh, this box score is nuts. The Grizzlies. It was kind of close for a split second to start the game, and then you look up and they were down. What was the halftime score?
The halftime score was 68-36.
Yeah. Marvin Bagley, what a surprise 17-point game for Marvin Bagley on the Grizzlies side.
Yep.
But the Grizzlies really aren't a bad team. From the flip side of, I'm not going to say they're good, but I'll get there in a second. From the flip side of the Heat, though. Looking at the Heat to the Grizzlies,
Agreed.
The Grizzlies are a much better team than the Heat, and OKC just brushed them off like they were nothing, like they were a speck of dust. Just obliterated them.
Yeah,
they play so hard, and then for that, combined with the star talent and the scoring they have, it's just unfair.
The Grizzlies, I talked about this earlier with the Timberwolves and Lakers, how the Timberwolves and Lakers are 1 game apart. The Grizzlies are 1 game apart from the Timberwolves. So this is a team that is still really good, especially in a year where they had a ton of turmoil. John Morant didn't play a ton of games. They had to play Zach Edey a ton, which they didn't expect. And Jaren Jackson Jr. was really their only savior throughout the season. Even Desmond Bane was inefficient. But, yeah, it was worse than a splattering. This was a straight-up murder. on national television. It really was. I forgot who made the Dave Posh, who was the play-by-play commentator for ESPN. He said that if this was a UFC fight, they would have already stopped the fight,
Yeah.
or the
Oh yeah.
other coach would have thrown in the white towel. And this was going into halftime, and so they still had to play a second half. It is, yeah, and it was a splattering. This series is going to be over. It looks like in 4 games. If the Thunder, I expect the Thunder to blow out the Grizzlies in Game 2 as well.
Because the thing too is they don't really have to try that hard to blow out the Grizzlies because they're so deep. It's not like you have to. Oh, if we want to blow this team out, we got to run Shea out there for 40 minutes.
Oh yeah,
That's just not nowhere near the case.
that's going to be the unique advantage for the Thunder. Is I think they're going to be able to. Now they're in a spot where we thought, okay, Clippers, Nuggets are, oh, that's a bad matchup for them in the second round, but they're going to be done with this series in less than a week from now. Their series is actually going to be over in less than a week than it started, 7 days. We expect Clippers and Nuggets to go to 7
Yeah.
games. So the Thunder, because one, they get to play all this depth because they're so good. Shea plays 23 minutes in this game. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, plays 26. Holmgren plays 21. And then in the Clippers, the Clippers-Nuggets game, Jokic and Jamal Murray played 48 minutes. And they're probably going to have to do that 7 times in that series to win. So the Thunder are going to be not just rested because they swept and the other team is in 7, but they're going to be even more rested because they're so deep and their stars just don't have to play a ton of minutes. That it's going to be given their home court. I don't see how either the Clippers or Nuggets steal Game 1 or Game 2 in the second round against the Thunder. It just feels like they're going to be insurmountable. They're going to have all the rest. And that home crowd is still just as good as I remember when I watched them growing up, which is why I was a Thunder fan growing up. Because, one, Westbrook and Kevin Durant were elite, but that home crowd was unlike any other. And they wore the shirts. We'll see if the Warriors do that in Game 3. That's a big controversy going on online right now of wearing the shirts.
You got to wear the shirts. If I was at a playoff game, that shirt would be on so fast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you had it pulled up. I just saw 12 Thunder players played double-digit minutes, which I understand it's a blowout, but even, I mean, in the playoffs to be in a position to play 12 players double-digit minutes, one, because it's a blowout, but also, I mean, going down that list, those are all quality players that played double-digit minutes. I mean, Cason Wallace played 13, and, like, that's no scrub by any means. He's a very impactful player.
Shooter.
Yep, Alex Caruso, great defender, can hit shots. I mean, Jalen Williams.
Kenrick Williams has started many games for the Thunder the past 2 years.
So it's such a deep team, and if I'm a Grizz, I don't really want to go play another game, to be honest. Like I would not. I would be losing
the
sleep
already
with because I was so distraught about having to get back on the court and face these guys for another 48 minutes, let alone 48 times 3. I'm not gonna do the math, but
144.
Close enough. Over 100 more minutes of basketball against this OKC team that just punched you in the mouth. And are laughing and having jokes on the sideline while doing it.
You shoot 17% from 3 because they were so good defensively.
Yeah.
And he had 22 turnovers. It's really, like, playing basketball is fun. And even, like, in AAU days, playing against a team that was, like, so much better than you, it was like, oh, it's fine. I still like playing basketball. But for the Grizzlies, when you're now then going to shoot 17% from 3 and turn it over the entire time, and they're harassing you defensively and everything, yeah, this is. Can I just get to the off season already?
Oh, 100%. It's ugly. I'm trying to find the. Okay, Pistons are up 8 with 3 minutes left in the second, so it's kind of stayed the same pace. Yeah, I mean I honestly, if I was a playing team and I like the Grizzlies, I lose the game to the Thunder, I'd be like, okay, we can just go and like lose because I would not have wanted to play this team, as you just kind of said. I think that's it for NBA playoff. Like,
that's
game
it
one
for
reaction.
Game 1 reaction.
It lived up to the hype for the most part. I mean, NBA playoffs are just pretty special, and I think that'll continue.
Oh, yeah. It's only going to get better, too.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first round. We've honestly been blessed to have...
Game 1 of the first round, too.
Correct. To have series like the Rockets-Warriors, which I understand is... I think the Warriors are going to handle that series just fine, but I think you're going to see a lot of close games based on the style of play. Clippers-Nuggets, Lakers-Timberwolves, Pistons... Like, just... We have a special amount of really good first-round series this year, in my opinion. So don't take it for granted. But we can go ahead and move on in the show. Next up, I believe we have a fan question to answer. Is that correct?
Yeah, so one of our friends DM'd us on Instagram, was like, oh my gosh, how have I just not, this is like, what, 3 days ago? This is like Thursday?
I believe it was Thursday because I think I was in the car heading
Yeah.
to my
Yeah.
fiance's house.
They're like, how have I'm just now hearing about this. Like, we see this person like every week, multiple times a week. Like, well, how did this start? Where did the name come from? Like, so I guess basically just like a story about how I mean, we're 16 episodes in. We've been doing this for over 2 months. Like, you know, we're not slowing down. Like, I guess, how did we get started?
Sure.
And JP goes, yeah, where did the name come from?
I have no clue.
We've talked about it a little bit, I feel like, but I don't know if we've given it the full-blown rundown, I guess.
Also,
which
we are at hour 25. Keep that in mind.
we can get through this, and then we can pause and hit the end
Cool.
segment. Or we just scratch the surprise segment.
I mean, I think
In
it's
the show.
interesting. I would love
We'll
to
do
talk
it.
about
We'll do
We
it.
can talk
Okay.
about it off air. I don't really
No,
care.
no, we can. We'll include it. So me and Sanders kind of got approached by my fiance about doing a podcast with the Reflector because they had a new podcast room. They didn't have any podcasts. We're like, sure, that'd be
This
fun.
room.
Yeah, this room that we're in. And they're like, she was like, how do we like get the process started? Because we had said we were interested, but nothing was really happening. So clearly, some initiative needed to be taken, which makes sense. And she's like, okay, well, you need to like fill out a doc with what your name's gonna be, what your plans are for the podcast, yada yada yada. At this point, JP was not on board.
Had
He came on
not
board.
that he wasn't on board. He was not.
He
we
was
had
not on
reached
the
out to-
show.
Yes, we had
Correct.
not reached out to. him.
It came on later when it found out Sanders maybe wouldn't be able to do it. We asked JP, and then we're like, why don't we just do all three because it'd be fun.
Yeah.
That's an aside. We're trying to figure out names. And for more context, the house I live at is nicknamed the Coop because we have a ton of chicken things in the coop from my previous roommate, Chromie, is the name we'll give him on air. And so it's been named the Coop because of that. He loves chickens. And so we were like, well, what if we did something chicken themed? We threw out a couple different ideas for the house, and they got shut down. I don't even remember what they were at
we
this
said,
point.
Like, I don't remember.
They were like
either.
pretty inside joke heavy, and so they got shut down. And so we're like, okay, well, we need something that combines chickens and sports. Was it my roommate that came up with it, or was it?
I really don't remember.
Anyway, the fusion of sports and chickens because of the house I live in and this friend is why Tentacle Foul got created. And then we just kind of committed to the bit, and it's why we have segments like Cock of the Walk, Winner Winner Chicken
Yeah.
Dinner, Mama Hen, Rotten Egg.
Yeah, and I think that the many opportunities to like play on the chicken theme is one of the reasons we have to buy into this.
Sure,
because
yeah.
before we even came up with the name, we were coming up with segments just left and right because
Yeah, I
they write
mean,
themselves.
There's
I
a lot
mean,
of chicken things for sure.
There's a lot of chicken and bird themed puns that you can use, and so we were kind of like, oh my gosh, like we don't know what the name is yet, but there are too many. Like my pecking order.
Yeah, your pecking order, which
Like-
will come back for college football for sure.
Correct. There were
Um,
just too many good segment names out there for us to not go.
You're
bird
right.
side
It
chicken
was.
theme.
We had fused chicken and sports, and so then the name was kind of the last thing to add. And it got to the point where we couldn't find anything, and so much stuff was shut down that we were just like, I do like our name, but it also was just like a happy to have something that kind of works.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh, I've grown to
semi-approved.
love our name.
Oh, yeah,
I
it's
love
hype.
it too.
it's really come along, and it's.
I
been-
will admit that I don't know when we first. I don't remember who came up with it.
I'm someone that I'm just probably not gonna love anything like that off rip because I'm just gonna always convince myself it's kind of stupid and silly. When in
Yeah.
reality, like we did, you just kind of gotta roll with it.
Yeah. I don't remember who came up with it. It may have been Duncanius.
I think it probably was. So I will
But-
give credit to him.
When they said it, I do think there was a sense of like
That's our best option.
this fits.
Yeah.
Like
Let's roll with it.
this sounds like a podcast name, and like, yeah, I think that I felt pretty good about it like from the moment I heard it.
So from there, we submitted that in, and we got approved, which was about the easiest process ever. And we got rolling. We brought JP on board.
Yep.
5-star recruit.
Yeah, that was
I
a
feel
huge
like,
win. Only one of us have podcast experience is JP, so that was a massive get. Kind of knew
True.
what we were getting ourselves. He knew what we were about to get ourselves into and could offer some guidance.
Yeah.
But it's been a ton of fun.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a good
been awesome.
question. I feel like we've kind of hinted at it a couple of times on air.
I didn't
or on
even know
the
if we've
show.
done that. I feel like
I feel like we definitely.
The
'Cause I feel like
inside-
we've brought up
maybe the inside
Chromie and
jokes.
stuff before about chicken lover.
have we?
I've maybe not, but I feel like we have.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything else? I mean, it's kind of both of our stories, so I kind of took the
No,
took the lead,
there
but
was a scary 2 weeks there where I thought I was gonna be able to do it.
it would have been very sad. The podcast almost got shut down before it got off the ground.
Yeah.
So
So his fiance was like, "Hey, y'all want to do it?" And me and Jack were like, absolutely. We literally talk about sports all the time. You're telling us that we can like do this professionally. For the listeners, there's air quotes there, so we can do this professionally. We're like, bet we'll do this. And then we talked about it for a week or two. We didn't really do anything other than just like kind of talk about it. And then right as we were like, okay, let's commit, let's sign up. Jack's fiance brought up the point that like, oh wait, I work for athletics. I'm an intern in athletics. I love what I do. I work with fan experience and the people there are great, but I realized there might be some conflicts there doing a sports podcast while working for athletics. And so I was like, hey, let me just talk to my boss, and he gave me the all clear. And I mean, it took me probably a week to like find the opportunity. So there was like a week of like, just like, man, I'm so sad.
it was tough because we should have thought of that off rip.
Yeah.
But we let ourselves like get excited and formulate a whole podcast concept just to be like, oh, how do we overlook this very simple fact?
Yeah.
But obviously it didn't hinder us.
Yep.
It ended up being okay. Your boss is chill.
Yeah. No, he was
So-
awesome. He was like, yeah, go for it. So that was super a big relief. So yeah, then it was like straight back into after that like pause of like panic. It was like, all right, right back into it. And I feel like JP, we were like, it started like, okay, JP, like we can have you as a guest, and then I couldn't do it. It was like, all right, I guess it's gonna be Jack and JP, and then I was back. It's like, all right, let's just do all
We're like,
three
well,
of us.
there's 3 mics.
Yeah,
so
we were like, there's 3 mics.
might as well.
Yeah.
Add a third.
And it's been a great addition. So thanks for joining us, JP.
Yeah, absolutely.
Calling it join is a little unfair. I mean, you've been with us from the start. So
True.
I don't want to do you any disservice, but we're past the 1:30 mark, so I think we should hit a pause and then we can reconvene for our final segment. We're
So
back.
off air, me and Jack were sitting here. There were like 8 things we were supposed to do, and we didn't do any of them. Instead, we started talking about as a sports fan, one of the things I find most interesting is the difference between the team building aspects in the NBA, MLB, and NFL, right? And so one of the things I've kind of been trying to figure out is the difference in how teams draft. So in the NFL, you can have a guy like Joe Burrow is my go-to example, a guy who had a very underwhelming career, was not a big recruit until his last season.
I was going to say, I'll give you a couple
sorry.
seconds.
He had an underwhelming career, not a huge recruit out of high school, went to Ohio State because his dad was a coach there, I believe, or was from there. Like that
There's
was
connections of some sort.
connections to Ohio State. Did not get the job there, transferred to LSU, had an average season his 3rd or 4th year, and then went on to have one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a college football quarterback.
The best.
The best, the JP claims. I don't remember he threw for 50 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
It was very impressive. He also did it in probably more. Anyway, it was very impressive. One of the best, if not the best, seasons we've seen from a college quarterback. Got drafted 1st overall.
Mhm.
Paul Skeens in college baseball had an underwhelming career at Air Force. Was throwing in the lower 90s. Transferred to LSU and consistently is like hitting 100. Goes 1st overall to the Pirates and gets promoted to Major League in the same season. I don't remember how the timelines work out,
It
but
was
something like it was very
very
early.
soon.
It
Yeah.
was very early.
Early the next season, yeah.
In college basketball, guys like the name I'm gonna throw out there would be like a Janai Broom, who has an underwhelming career and then really puts it all together and becomes dominant for the end of his career. And he's gonna be lucky if he gets drafted. And so I guess that just it has me kind of wondering, and I've actually me and Jack did some research. I'm gonna pull it up real quick, specifically about the basketball, and I'm gonna try and do about other sports as well. But so for basketball, JP, we were looking at if you looked at the 1st overall pick in the NBA draft, when was the last time a non-one and done player was drafted 1st overall, excluding the international picks, just because they're unlike what we had. Like that's just entirely different from what we have in it's specifically football and then some baseball. There are some international players, but
And the international players that get drafted 1st overall come in at the age of like a one and done. So I know
Yeah.
it's not the same, but
Was Markel Fultz one and done?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a one and done.
Was Anthony Bennett one and done?
Yes,
Okay. Was it prior to Anthony Bennett?
it was prior to Anthony Bennett.
Okay.
This is a guy that I didn't realize he was not a one and done. He had some injuries his freshman year. I believe MCL sprains, and then had to have like whatever microscopic surgery, so a minor surgery.
Oh. Is it Greg Oden?
No, it was 2 years after Greg Oden.
Okay.
It was around then.
Oh, was it Blake?
Yeah, Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
So it was just, this was a really, I mean, we probably spent 30 minutes like looking at all this. So it's really interesting if you look at the NBA as opposed to, I'm going to talk about the NFL because it's what I know best. Because in the NBA, the first overall pick from 2007 to 2022, every year was a former 5-star. Every year except one was a one-and-done freshman. And then, besides Blake Griffin, they were all one-and-done freshmen. And besides Blake Griffin, they were all ranked top 6 on the 24/7 composite ranking coming out of high school. So basketball is just very interesting to me because it feels like I don't want to say that it's just chalk it up to really good scouting when it comes to basketball, like high school recruiting rankings. I wonder if it might be more of like a self-fulfilling prophecy where these kids are in college for such a short period of time that they come into college with a 5-star rating and they have the talent. It's why they're a 5-star. It's why they're a top 6 recruit. They have that talent and they're not in college long enough for you to know whether or not that was a correct recruiting profile. And then they get drafted first overall based on that same talent.
I think it happens in a few ways. It's, for one, basketball is a sport with the lowest percentage of players that play professionally because there's only 5 spots on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Football, there's 11. Soccer, there's 9. Baseball,
11.
There's 11. Sorry,
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
I was thinking baseball
You're good.
first. Baseball, there's 9. And because of that, the guys that are the best, you can kind of tell the difference. It's when you watched Cooper Flagg play this season, you could tell that even with the outstanding players like Janai Broom in college basketball, you could tell this guy was just leaps and bounds better than every single player.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into part of it. But another thing, I think it's because there is so little data on these players statistically. It's because of the rules. Like in college, college football, you're forced to play 3 years or at least get through to your junior eligibility
Mm-hmm.
season before you can declare for the draft. In college basketball, you in the past you could just come straight out of high school even.
Yeah.
But you'd only have to play 1 year in college basketball. I think that is a big part of it because there's such little data. When you take these number 1 overall picks or these top 5 picks, you're picking for potential.
Mm-hmm.
You're not picking for true immediate stardom. Trying to remember the first player that was taken number 1 overall that really just like led that team to outstanding success immediately, and it's really hard to go through the number 1 overall picks. You have
You want me? Yeah, I've got them. Where do you want me to go
just
backwards?
Start from last year
and go backwards.
So start with
So
Risha Shea.
Wembanyama.
Risha Shea, they made the playoffs. Wemby, they did not make the playoffs. They were really, really bad.
Paolo
Yeah.
Banchero.
Boncaro, they weren't really good. They almost made the playoffs.
Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham, the
Terrible.
Pistons were terrible.
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards would be. The Timberwolves weren't good yet. I don't think they made the postseason either that year either.
Zion Williamson.
Didn't make the postseason.
DeAndre Ayton.
They also did not make the postseason. That was they didn't start making it till post bubble.
Markel Fultz,
The Sixers were still in the process.
Ben Simmons,
Still in the process.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Cat was to the Timberwolves. They weren't good really. They made the playoffs 1 year because they had Jimmy Butler.
Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins was in the trade, the Cavaliers trade. Also Timberwolf. He wasn't, like I said, Timberwolves weren't great.
Anthony Bennett.
He was obviously a bust, and the Cavs were bad anyway.
Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis with the New Orleans Hornets, they weren't good.
Kyrie Irving.
Cavs were bad all of those years. Yeah, you just go through all of those
Yeah.
players, and it's like, well, because basketball is that sport where the greats you just know are greats.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic, he's completely different to, you compare him to.
Where was he drafted?
He was drafted 11 to the Hawks and then traded to the Mavericks.
Did he play a game at the Hawks?
No, he was
Okay.
traded on draft night. Him and Trae Young were traded.
Yeah.
Yes.
Between each
okay,
other.
Yeah. I
But
remember that.
yeah, you just don't see the talent, the difference between Luka Doncic and a guy at the same size as him. Let's say that plays near the point of Michael Carter Williams or anything like that. It's just unbelievable big difference. While the difference between them, Brian Scalabrine has said it multiple times, I'm closer to being as good as LeBron James than you are to being as good as me.
Yeah.
But we see the gap between Brian Scalabrine and LeBron James is just
Massive.
enormous. So I think that's a huge part of it is you're drafting for potential. You're not drafting for immediate success. So you look for youth. You look
Yep.
for young guys that haven't played a ton of years because ideally you draft them when they're 19, 20, and then that second contract hits when they're 23, and then that third contract can hit when they're 27. You're not drafting for immediate success a ton of the time because for a lot of these NBA teams, you don't have coaches that are fired after one bad season or even sometimes two bad seasons. In the NFL, it's so much about immediate success because you have these great stories of like in recent memory, the Commanders and the Texans going from worst to first. That's just not something that can happen because the NBA also doesn't have the thing that creates the parity, which is the scheduling.
Yeah.
The Hornets are going to play the same exact schedule that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to play. The Celtics are going to play the same schedule as the Toronto Raptors. You just don't see the parity there. So I think those would be my answers to why you see so many guys being drafted one and done, because you're drafting for potential. You're drafting
off traits.
Yeah.
in 3 years, Anthony Edwards is going to be a star. Now already in 2 years, you hope Wemby's going to be a star. Karl Anthony Towns, you hope is going to be a star, but Karl Anthony Towns doesn't end up developing until 7 years later. You just you don't see the immediate success out of these players that are taken to the top
Yeah.
overall.
And that's in part because they're drafted 3 to 4 years younger. than
Oh, yeah,
guys
they're
out of
drafted
NFL.
way before when you would even think a prime is. Like we would say Anthony Edwards still isn't even in his prime yet.
And he's really good.
And he is.
And he's been in the league for 4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You don't. They're just not at their athletic prime yet either.
Yeah.
So that's a large part of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just looking. I would love to compare. And it's bust is such a broad term, and it's not really, you can't really measure bust. But I would be interested to see what the difference in like bust rate first overall in the NBA versus the NFL. So like, does drafting younger guys and therefore going off of potential lead to more busts? Or is that, like you said, like it's a lot easier to tell in basketball because there's, he's one of 5 guys on the court. You can just tell when a guy's different.
Yeah, you play both ways, so you're gonna have these. You're gonna have to be good offensively and defensively, and only a select few people in the world are ever gonna be
Yeah.
get that gifted enough.
So Caleb, I'm just looking at the NFL draft. Caleb Williams was a 5-star. Bryce Young was a 5-star. Trayvon Walker was a 5-star. Trevor Lawrence was a 5-star. I don't think Burrow,
Burrow
was.
was not.
Kyler Murray, I don't think was at
He was a
A&M.
5-star.
Was he actually?
He was, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was highly, highly touted.
Okay. Baker Mayfield was not.
No.
Myles
No.
Garrett was.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure about some of these older guys.
Goff wasn't. Winston was. Clowney was.
Eric Fisher.
Can't believe Eric Fisher.
I mean,
was
he
a
played at
first
Central
overall pick.
Michigan, so I'm going to go with probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Andrew Luck was. Cam Newton. It depends on if you're talking about when he went to Florida or when he went to Auburn. I imagine that Bradford.
Or when he
is-
should have went here.
True. There's.
Tough.
It's interesting, and I'm gonna keep looking at it. I'm gonna try and do some more research and like actually see what hypothesis it leads to, because it's a really interesting. I don't know. I think team building is so. I
Sure.
love team building. I love the.
I do too. It's the only thing I play. I love playing sport games, but I
Just got to
don't
do
play,
rebuilds.
I don't play the sport games to play online or play
Yeah.
the Ultimate Team card collecting
Yeah.
and all that. I play it to build my franchise in
Yeah.
Madden, 2K, the show, whatever it be.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, to get a full picture, you have to look past the first overall pick, which obviously I
Correct.
know you know.
Correct.
Just to give a simple snapshot that's easy to talk about. Is definitely the case. I think kind of the example I was thinking of while y'all are sitting here is like we see all the time NBA players, especially guards, get drafted, and it's like, well, they didn't shoot great in college, but like we think we can we can develop a jump shot there. And talking about the fact that they're one and dones, it's likely that if they'd been in college for 3 years and they still didn't have a jump shot, it'd be a lot less likely that teams would be like, oh yeah, they don't, they shot like 30% from 3 or 29% from 3, but like we think they can develop a jump shot.
Yeah.
If they've done that for 3 years, they're just less likely. So I do think there is an instance where a little bit of, like y'all said, less data does help, but traits just matter so much in basketball.
Yeah.
Like think of the Thompson twins. Like they can't. They didn't really have a polished game
They
in
didn't have
overtime
anything.
elite.
They played in overtime elite, which is street ball. If
Developmental league, my ass.
Yeah, exactly.
But it didn't matter because everyone looked at them and said they're so physically gifted.
Mhm.
Why would we pass them up?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's another thing. The NBA, these guys are freaks of nature. The God-gifted athletic prowess of them is insane because Caleb Williams Bryce Young was 5'10" on
Yeah,
a good
5'10".
day. He's probably my height, 5'8". Luka Doncic is 6'7".
Yeah.
And the Thompson twins are 6'6" and 6'7", I do believe. It's just these guys are freaks of nature.
Yeah.
The tallest guy on a football field is usually 6'6" at most.
Yeah.
That's
gonna
like
be offensive line.
average height in the NBA.
Yeah.
and you got to think too, like how many tall people are just very clumsy. Or
Mhm.
like
Oh,
just like
yeah.
literally can't really run well and have so many health issues. And so the fact that everyone's just tall and just great fluidity.
I mean,
and
think
athletic
about
traits.
Mott.
Yeah. Big stray there, man.
True.
But yeah, it is an interesting thought. And just the kind of the culture of drafting, or like
Yeah.
the thought process of drafting is definitely very different.
I'll have to go back and look and start doing more research onto. I would love to see like how many first rounders in the NBA, like what is their classification? How many of them are one and done guys? Because right now, like the top 8 prospects are all one and dones, right? Something like that.
It depends on who you look at. Colin Murray Boyles is probably the first one on people's draft board.
Yeah.
And he's
that
a
isn't a
sophomore?
one and done, and he's a sophomore,
Mhm.
and he could have gone lotto last year too. So it's not like he's had an insane rise that suddenly
Yeah.
has put him in the lottery. So yeah,
That'd be another. Like, what's the biggest rise you're gonna see? Like, what would you say the biggest rise you're gonna see from someone who goes into the NBA draft after their junior year?
after their junior year, I mean,
Let's
it's just
say junior year.
it's just hard to say.
Okay.
Part of it is you can see a guy like Dalton Connect who just
Yeah.
got in, or Derek White even, who got into college and just somehow wasn't done growing yet.
Yeah.
And so just hadn't physically matured. And I think that is the one case where you can really see a big riser. Is I think Derek White went from like 6 foot flat to like 6'6" or whatever he
Yeah.
is now. Dalton Connect got bigger. And so suddenly they go, well, they're good basketball players, but they aren't physically going to be able to hold up in the NBA. To, oh, wait a second, they're good basketball players, and now they can physically hold up
Yeah.
in the NBA. And so they shoot up in draft boards.
Was Connect a 4th year out of Tennessee, 3rd or 4th? He was an older
Yeah,
relative.
third or fourth.
Yeah, I want to say
And
he
he
was
was a
fourth.
first rounder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I think he just kind of he was at his small D2 college or whatever it was, and I think
One of the Dakotas,
Yes.
I thought it was Colorado.
Colorado State.
I don't.
It doesn't matter. It was a small D2 school, and he just hit puberty late or just wasn't done, and suddenly just had what it takes to play in the NBA on top of already being a good shooter.
Yeah.
And then we got to see that at like a national level. Because that's another thing too is no one probably saw Dalton Connect really play in high school that actually cared, right?
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden he's here at Tennessee and performing, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah, sure." So I mean, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of how big of a rise we've seen from somebody who, like, was D1 and
Yeah.
stayed D1, and in his third year just made a huge rise. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of anyone on top
That
of
can
my
be a
head.
project for after the NFL draft.
Yeah, sure.
I've got a long list of
I mean,
things.
maybe Janai Broom, but he's not gonna.
I mean, Walter Clayton probably rose more than Janai Broom did,
exactly.
honestly.
Yeah.
Is Walter Clayton going to go first round?
He could. I don't know.
Late first round maybe, but also Walter Clayton doesn't exactly fit my bill because he was at Iona first, which isn't D2. Like, that's D1. It's not a Dalton Connect story at all.
And he's just not tall enough.
But yeah,
Colorado State is also D1. I don't know where you think Connect came from. Did he?
it's
come
not
from D2?
Colorado State.
He came from a D2 school.
I don't think there's no way he was like. Let me just look because we keep
Let's stop
speculating.
guessing.
But
Correct.
yeah,
Good idea.
You're just not gonna. And even like a lot of the guys that maybe they develop on late are usually big men, and unfortunately, big men just aren't really not anymore. It used to be the big story of the NBA. In the late '80s and early '90s, it was like Jordan was on the uprise, but it was like Jordan. The big talk was, oh, he's never going to be the best player in the NBA because
He's not a big.
you got to be 6'8", 6'9" at least to be the best player in the NBA, or to dominate or to win championships. You saw that for many years with Bill Russell winning as many as he did, Kareem winning 5. It's just been a big story. But now it's completely different with the way the three-point shot is. It's bigs, you have to be productive. You have to be able to shoot threes, or you just have to be so good.
Like Mississippi State legend Quentin Post,
Yeah,
who went 3 for 3 in the final regular season game.
exactly. You
Where's that?
you have to be
First-
just
There's
so
a playing game.
so physically imposing, like Ivica Zubac, who's just 7 foot 260 and can play in the post and be really, really good in the pick and roll game. Which like Janai Broom's just not going to translate to the NBA because he doesn't have that. Yeah, he's really good in the post, but man, he wishes he probably played in the '80s because that would have been the big story. Just throw it down the broom in the post, he would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about NBA being a developmental league, but like sometimes you see. I mean, especially you get like a foreign-born center that started playing basketball late, and so they are kind of say they've been in college for a couple years, but it's like, well, they just kind of had to learn how to play the game. I do feel like you can see some of those, but I agree it's more rare now than it was. Just to clarify, so Dalton Connect started at Northeastern Junior College and then played 3 years at University of Northern Colorado and then went to Tennessee.
There we go. Northern Colorado is D2, I imagine. I do not think they're D1. Interesting. Well,
so.
you were right on the Colorado point.
Oh, they might be D2 now. They were D1. They are D1 in NCAA 2K8.
Okay, so Connect's growth spurt wasn't even in college, but he did grow kind of senior year of high school, and then I think probably had to kind of learn how to grow into that size because when you're growing, you're kind of for the most part you're a little awkward, and then you have to settle in a little bit. So that is still pretty late.
Interesting.
I did not expect that question to lead into like a 20-minute conversation.
Oh, I did.
But it was fun.
That was kind of the end. I really wanted to talk about it because I think it's interesting.
I mean, it is.
That's
it is
why
very
I didn't want to pose it as a question. It was more of a conversation I wanted to have. So I'll do some more research. I'm going to look at. I mean, I need to confirm where all these college football players were ranked. Baseball's so much harder because baseball high school rankings aren't even really a thing.
Yeah. And you also have the whole thing of high school, going in high school still
correct.
allowed now.
Yeah.
So like
And getting drafted multiple times. It's just it's
you could definitely do a study, but it'd be a lot more difficult.
I may just do NFL and NBA.
Yeah, I mean that's a great place to start. I I think JP's trying to get his Saints on the clock real quick so he can take Shedeur Sanders yet again. Not going to happen at 9. But that's all we have for this show, though, guys. So thanks for tuning in.
A nice, quick 2-hour show.
Yeah, I'll never again say a show's going to be quick.
Yes, it
because
will. It's okay.
No. I mean, I'll get it right eventually.
No, you won't. We're never going to have a short We talk too much.
We will have a short show one of these days, team. I promise you. That is a Jack guarantee. But, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Please, be on the lookout for all of our draft content coming up. And our tune in for our I'm blanking on the word, live stream Thursday night of the draft.
Draft is at 7 Central, so we'll probably try and start at like 6:45.
6:30, 6:45.
Yeah, look for us around 6:30,
Yeah, if there's 2 of us
6:45.
here, we can start a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
If it
You don't have
was-
to fill as much dead
If
space.
it was just me, I was going to be starting like
Y'all are
6:55.
gonna-
y'all are gonna want to tune in for the moment when Jackson Dart gets drafted by the Saints and JP burns his Saints jersey. We will not actually burn the Saints jersey,
Lucky
but
this
he may
doesn't
tear it.
reach the wall because this would put like the stand itself would put a hole in the wall, but it doesn't reach.
Yeah, it's gonna
It
be.
just hits the
The
microphone.
wall is
so
safe.
The wall is safe, but I could just elbow or
He's just going to whip
punch.
around. And
No. He'll keep it tame as much as he can.
he's going to pull the plug in the live stream.
Yeah,
Just unplug
it may go dark for a minute.
boom on the soundboard.
So tune in for that.
I can't wait.
I'll-
I
it's
was
gonna be a
watching
blast.
Jackson Dart film.
Turn down my
last night.
mic and yell. Which I don't know why I just bleeped that, but
Oh, he did. So
yeah, that kind of thing.
you can't. We need raw reaction on the air. So
It will be live.
yeah,
It
perfect.
will be.
We
It will,
may-
it will be raw.
I may have to lean over for the Saints pick until it's over, turn him down, and just like.
Are y'all telling me y'all are just gonna sit on either side of the desk
Yeah.
until I get here?
Either-
That's
yeah.
so
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Who's
cool.
go- how are we gonna sit in the? Someone's gonna sit in
Well,
the
y'all
middle?
could
Change
scooch in a
seat.
little bit,
No,
but I guess you can't because your mics are pretty anchored.
Yeah.
You could drag. Anyway,
I'm gonna be chilling.
we can let y'all go. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.
See ya.